Yara Sachs is as wacko as her boss, Justin Trudeau. This riding of York Centre is not a fiefdom. She doesn't get to decide who gets to come and go from her riding. And people in her riding are allowed to disagree with her. And they are also allowed to hear ideas spoken by people who disagree with her. This is not a homogenous place where only Yara Sachs gets to decide what's acceptable. I am willing to bet that Yara Sachs didn't watch a second of the events that she labeled anti-Semitic, radical, and bigoted. Because she doesn't care. She doesn't want to hear the other side of the story, and that's what this whole event is about. It's about a free and liberal exchange of ideas that the liberals in this country don't believe in anymore. I think that's why Yara Sachs is so critical of the event. She cares deeply about what Americans think about her. I know the liberals are especially vain. You know, that's Justin Trudeau's whole story of his life, is that he's a vain and petty and shallow individual. And I think the criticism from the likes of Donald Trump Jr. really stung, because he's the son of the presumed next president of the United States. And instead of shutting up and letting a free speech event happen, the Liberals did what they predictably always do. This was an event to counter the censorship of the Liberals. And what did we get from the Liberals? A cry for more censorship, a cry to limit the free speech. And you can tell, it deeply embarrassed the Liberals that the son of past and then future president of the United States came here to criticize them on their own turf. Obviously, you're my favorite speaker, Robbie. You smash through the myths of the oil and gas sector. You are smart and funny, and I think cosmopolitan. You're gay and you're Métis. You are an example of the diversity of Alberta, the tolerance of Albertans. As Albertans, we're a place where if you work hard and you make your way, you can be successful, you can be somebody, and you don't have to be a connected Laurentian elite to become somebody in Alberta. And I think that's one of the reasons that you face so much criticism. You obviously were my favorite speaker, but Dr. James Lindsay, an advocate for free speech. We had Billboard Chris, April Hutchinson, a personal hero for me, paying great personal costs to advocate for fairness in sport, for women and girls, for daughters just like mine. So we had all the major cultural issues. We had the keynote speaker on all of those issues here in York Centre. My takeaway is less from the speakers, who I know what they were going to say, and it was more from the crowd, because the crowd, in the true spirit of a free speech conference, some of them did not agree with everything the speaker said, including yourself on an issue that Donald Trump Jr. brought up. You can still disagree with one point that the person is making without completely throwing out the baby with the bathwater. As you said, you disagreed with Donald Trump Jr. on one point. Amanda Ackman, who is an advocate against medical assistance in dying, she faced some pushback from some of the people in the crowd too. What she said was not discounted. You did not discount what Donald Trump Jr. said. You could say, I agree with him on all these other issues. I have a disagreement on this one thing. That doesn't make him a bad person. That's not a moral failing if you and I have a political disagreement. And that's the whole point of it all. Amanda is one of the stars of our documentary, Made the Dark Side of Canadian Compassion. And in our documentary, we connected with people who have had suicidal ideations and who have come out the other side. People who said, if 6 months ago I had this option, you would not be speaking with me today. Amanda talks about how suicidal ideation can be transient even for the terminally ill, where one day they can feel like dying and the next day want to move on and see value and purpose in what they're doing. And that's why I think the Liberals' expansion of medical assistance in dying is so dangerous, is because it does not allow people to come out of that despair. We've all despaired. I think if you meet a person who says they've never been in despair, you've met a liar. The problem is medical assistance in dying is a permanent solution to temporary despair. I think what's next for us is we continue to see the Liberals plummet in the polls. The more Canadians get to know Pierre Poilievre, the more he is not the fringe, radical, right-wing extremist that the Liberals and their enablers in the media paint him to be. We're seeing this play out in Alberta. The same attacks of Pierre Poilievre federally were leveled against Danielle Smith. She's doing things, and it is not the end of the world. And I think we will continue to see, as is always the case with the Liberals, scandal after scandal after scandal. I think they're going to hang on to the bitter end. And God willing, we will see a change in government in October and hopefully return to the prosperous and free country that we all know Canada has been and will be in the future.